Criminal organizations use casinos to launder $383 million every single day. The same things that make casinos so appealing, so fun, the steady flow of cash, the sense of anonymity, the constant stimulation, are the exact same things which make them attractive to criminal gangs. By exchanging cash for chips and using seemingly harmless transactions, they can easily move their illicit funds into the financial system. In this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how they do it. Casinos have long been glamorous hubs for entertainment and high-stakes gambling, but beneath the glitz and the glamour, a dark reality lies. In the diverse and often complex world of financial crime, casinos offer a unique opportunity for criminals to launder their illicit earnings by disguising them as legitimate gambling profits. This practice often involves criminal gangs, corrupt middlemen, and regulatory loopholes, and I'm going to explain how it works through some of the most notorious examples in global history. One of the most prominent examples is the Crown Resorts scandal in Australia, which exposed how international criminal organizations exploited VIP gambling programs to launder billions of dollars. Crown Resorts worked with junket operators, companies that bring high-rolling gamblers to casinos, to facilitate transactions that bypassed standard banking systems. Junket clients, often linked to criminal enterprises, would deposit large amounts of dirty money, gamble a small portion, and withdraw the rest as clean funds disguised as winnings. This was not an isolated case. Similar problems plagued Macau, the gambling capital of the world, where triads laundered profits from drug trafficking, extortion, and illegal gambling through casino floors. These scandals exposed systemic failures in oversight and the troubling complicity of casino operators prioritizing profit over compliance. As governments and financial watchdogs tighten regulations, the Crown Resorts scandal and others like it serve as a cautionary tale about the risks of high-cash industries intersecting with global crime networks. The stage is set to explore the mechanisms and impact of casino money laundering. In the mid-2010s, signs of suspicious activity began to emerge in casinos across Australia and Asia. High-profile VIP players, often flown in on private jets, were gambling millions with little concern for winning or losing. These junket clients, brought in by third-party operators, were known for their extravagant spending and secret transactions. Financial institutions had flagged irregular activity, including large cash deposits, sometimes delivered in duffel bags, that bypassed normal banking channels. Junket operators handled these transactions, ensuring anonymity for their clients. Many of those operators were tied to organized crime groups, as I mentioned before, such as the Chinese triads and Southeast Asian cartels. Inside of the casinos, whistleblowers raised alarms about tax oversight. Some employees reported being told to ignore warning signs, like large cash exchanges or players who didn't seem to care about the outcomes of their bets. Journalists and anti-money laundering experts began uncovering how casinos were helping criminal networks launder billions through their VIP programs. In Australia, government agencies intensified their investigations, uncovering regulatory failures, particularly in Crown Resorts' partnerships with overseas junket operators. Questions arose about why high rollers, many flagged for criminal ties, were given special treatment and access to financial loopholes that allowed unchecked cash flow. As investigations deepened, it became clear that something shocking was soon to surface. In 2020, a public inquiry into Crown Resorts exposed widespread money laundering through the company's VIP programs. The investigation, led by the New South Wales Independent Liquor and Gambling Authority, revealed criminal networks working with junket operators and negligent casino leadership. At Crown's Melbourne and Perth casinos, duffel bags and suitcases filled with cash were regularly brought into VIP lounges. The money was exchanged for casino chips, briefly gambled, and then cashed out as clean winnings. Junket clients were then given access to luxury suites, private gaming rooms, and concierge services. Evidence showed that Crown knowingly partnered with junket operators flagged for money laundering and criminal ties. These operators acted as intermediaries, funneling illicit funds into the casino while avoiding financial oversight. Internal warnings about the risks were ignored, as we mentioned before. One of the most shocking moments of the inquiry came when surveillance footage showed VIP patrons delivering large sums of cash in shopping bags to casino staff who deposited the money into Crown's accounts. Over several years, these transactions added up to hundreds of millions of dollars. As the inquiry continued, Crown's failures became undeniable. CEO Ken Barton and other senior executives admitted under questioning that they ignored red flags themselves. Emails and internal documents revealed a culture focused on maintaining these lucrative VIP relationships, even at the expense of ethical and legal standards. The revelations confirmed what many had long suspected the Crown was both being exploited by criminals and actively enabling and profiting from the money laundering. The inquiry concluded with the Crown losing its license to operate its new Sydney casino, a decision that highlighted the gravity of the scandal. The consequences were cataclysmal. After the findings of the New South Wales inquiry, Crown Resorts lost its license to operate its $2.2 billion Sydney casino before it ever opened. Regulators declared the company unfit to hold a license, citing negligence and turning a blind eye to criminal activity. This unprecedented decision sent shockwaves through the global casino industry. Public outrage exploded as media reports detailed Crown's operations. Images of these duffel bags stuffed with cash and links to international crime syndicates dominated headlines. The company's stock value plummeted, wiping billions off of its market worth, and investors pulled out. Billionaire James Packer, Crown's largest shareholder, faced intense scrutiny over his involvement in the company's governance. Under mounting pressure, CEO Ken Barton and several top executives resigned. Crown's board was overhauled and the company began internal reforms in a desperate attempt to repair its reputation. Whistleblowers who exposed Crown's misconduct were praised, with many revealing further details about the casino's operations. Regulators across Australia launched investigations into other casinos, uncovering similar issues. Banks froze accounts linked to these junket operators, and international criminal institutions tightened anti-money laundering controls for gambling transactions. The scandal also sparked public calls for stronger oversight of the gaming industry. For Crown's employees, the fallout was dire. Thousands found themselves in limbo as operations were scaled back and the Sydney casino project stalled indefinitely. The scandal ignited debates about corporate greed, regulatory failures, and the ethical issues surrounding the gambling industry as a whole. Meanwhile, these criminal investigations into junket operators and their links to organized crime spread globally. Governments in Asia, Europe, and North America began scrutinizing their casino industries for vulnerabilities. What started as an Australian scandal became a global reckoning for casinos everywhere. The Crown Resorts scandal had a lasting impact on this global casino industry, leading to major reforms. In Australia, it prompted stricter anti-money laundering rules and greater oversight. Crown Resorts underwent significant changes, including replacing its leadership and committing to a culture of transparency. Despite these efforts, the company's reputation was permanently damaged, and public trust was never fully restored. Its Sydney casino project was delayed for years, while its Melbourne and Perth operations were closely monitored by regulators. The financial losses were enormous, with Crown paying hefty fines and settlements, and its stock value failing to recover. Competitors reevaluated their anti-money laundering practices to avoid similar scrutiny, while governments around the world tightened all of their gambling-related financial regulations. Cash-based transactions were banned in many jurisdictions, and blockchain technology gained traction for its transparency and and ability to reduce vulnerabilities in the system. Junket operators, once key players in attracting wealthy clients, saw their influence collapse. Many were blacklisted, forced out of the business, or caught up in law enforcement crackdowns. Investigations into their ties with organized crime led to arrests and dismantling of several criminal networks. For the global casino industry, the scandal served as a wake-up call, exposing the risks of prioritizing profits over compliance. It also sparked debates about the ethics of gambling and calls for stronger protections against exploitation in the financial and gaming sectors. Years later, the Crown Resorts case remains a powerful example of how greed and negligence can lead to systemic failure. It continues to influence industry policies and stands as a cautionary tale for businesses and regulators worldwide, ensuring its lessons are not forgotten. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and if you want to learn more about financial loopholes, watch this next video about how companies avoid paying taxes.